Syracuse Orange fans, can you feel the heat?
What is going on, Cuse Nation? Welcome to yet another edition of Orange Heat. My name's Giovanni Heater, as always, and thank you for joining me. It's been a hot second since we've been here, but we are back, and we're talking our favorite Syracuse Orange athletics action. So let's dive right into it. My big question for you guys, what is going on with Syracuse football? Syracuse Orange football currently sits dead last in the Atlantic Coast Conference with a 3-6 record in a schedule that was really supposed to be built in a favorable position for the Orange. This is a team right now that has only won 3 games, and those 3 games have been against our quote-unquote cupcake opponents in Holy Cross, Western Michigan, and Liberty. This is a serious problem for the Syracuse football program right now. We've yet to win a game in which we were supposed to be at least the same level or a higher level than our opponents. Clearly some serious issues in the Syracuse football staff as well as the players and the different positions this season that we just kind of blew right over. We let our expectations get ahead of us as a media, as a fan base, and we just skimmed right over them. We thought, they're going to plug those linebacker position problems, no problem. We thought offensive line, they'll get cohesive, they'll get going, they'll be just fine. We thought Tommy DeVito, we saw him do a little bit last year. We decided we'd excuse some of the facts that he didn't perform well in games like the Notre Dame situation, and we decided we were going to look at the positives, and we were going to come out into this season guns a-blazing, be one of the top contenders in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and that just has not been the case. Clearly a situation where players like Eric Dungy hid a lot of the problems last season. I think a lot of these problems were present in last football season, but they just didn't come out for whatever reasons, whether other teams were having a down year, such as Boston College. We caught a Boston College team on the road late in their season when they had really already been depleted, kind of a position that we are in right now. Had we played Boston College last season, earlier on in the year, when they were a contender, when they were hosting college game day against a team like Clemson, could have been a different story. So I think our schedule favored us last year, and I think some terrific performances by Eric Dungy and company really hid some of the problems within the offensive line. And it just goes to show how good Keelan Whitner was last year, how good Ryan Guthrie was last year, because there's just so much exposure that you could really pick apart at this Syracuse team right now. And that's what our job is here, so that's exactly what we're going to go and get into. Now, a couple weeks back, Syracuse loses on the road, coming out of a bye week, 16-10 at NC State. NC State, not a good team, but a middle-of-the-pack type team. They've been pretty close in a lot of their games. This is a game that Syracuse was in really at the end of the game only, though. The defense was able to hold them in it, and that's the confusing thing about this defense. Sometimes they play very well and keep the team in the game, and other times they're the reason that we're losing these games. So just confusion all across the board when you look at game in and game out. You want to say it's a different scenario, but at the same time, it's the same old tale of the tape week in and week out this year. It's a very confusing season and a very confusing team when you really dive into it, because we have yet to discover an identity as a team, something that this late in the season should have been very much proclaimed. Every team we've played against has found their identity, and that's why Boston College was able to use their identity to expose through our defense and flat out beat us last week. Syracuse does not have an identity, whether we're a passing team, a running team, a defensive team, and we've yet to catch any kind of stride and have that go-to look game in and game out, have that weapon game in and game out, and it shows, because the record right now is 3-6. So back to the NC State game. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Syracuse loses to NC State on the road coming out of the bye week, 16-10. Now, coming out of the bye week, we knew this was going to show which direction this season was going to head. Were they going to roll over and play dead, or were they going to fight back, come out with a huge performance on the road on a Thursday night down in Raleigh, North Carolina, and show the rest of the Atlantic Coast Conference as well as our own fan base that they're still in this thing. It's not too late. And they just didn't do it. They just didn't do it. They weren't in the game much as it went on. The defense is what kept them in it, but the offense struggled. They had an opportunity to win it at the end of the game. Some different problems. We talked about it. There was a penalty. There was DeVito took a sack. Should it have been a penalty when he got hit? Whatever. We lost the game. Then the next week, they come out and they host Pitt at the Carrier Dome. Still an opportunity. Your season's not away from you yet, but it's starting to drift away from the expectations that we certainly had. And then they drop this one, 27-20 to Pitt in the Dome. And this is a game, again, they were coming from behind, playing catch-up. A game that they really weren't in much from the get-go, and they had to claw their way back under Clayton Welsh. And the thing that bugged me about this game is I was listening to Matt Park on the radio. I was on the way home from the football stadium. I was calling my high school game, play-by-play and stadium announcing, and they say that Tommy DeVito was asked if he was ready to go back into this game, and he said, I'm done. I'm good. I'm good for the day. And it just blows my mind, whether that was true or not, it just blows my mind that was even an option to say, because Eric Dungy, they used to have to drag his half-dead body off of the field. That kid played with a broken foot at Florida State. He tried to play through concussions, broken toes, hurt back, hurt arm, whatever it was. You couldn't get that kid off the field. He wanted to be out there. He wanted to be competing, and he wanted to put Syracuse in positions to win ball games. So you go from that to your quarterback doesn't want to be on the field. It's hard to fathom, really, at this D1 football level that DeVito doesn't want to get back on the field. Now, credits to Clayton Welsh for clawing us back into this game, keeping it close. The refs kind of booed us a little bit with clearly what I thought to be was a fumble by Kenneth Ruff. And maybe you could have overturned it from the fact that you could not see the ball. From the fact that you could not see the ball from the camera angles they provided. It was originally called a fumble on the field. And they went ahead and they overturned it. Now, I'm saying that there was not evidence to support that it was a fumble, but there was 110% no evidence to overturn that call. I think it should have been a situation where it was ruling on the field stands as called. Not ruling on the field is confirmed, but stands as called. Not overturned, though. It's inexcusable, and it's absolutely terrible. A situation where ACC refs out to get the northern team, Syracuse, that's what some people believe. I'm not saying I believe that, but we've had some situations over the years with ACC referees not playing into our favor, not calling games evenly, situations like that, and you saw it against NC State a couple weeks prior in the game against Pitt. I'm just saying that could have been a different ball game. I thought it was a fumble, and I heard that there was another camera angle that was seen from the sidelines that they did not provide on TV that did support that it was a fumble. So we don't have to dive any further to that. Nonetheless, Syracuse fights back, but they lose 2 weeks in a row as they try and come from behind. And at that point, you're sitting at, let's see, so you beat Liberty, then you lost to Maryland, so that puts you at 1-1. And then you go on the week after and you lose to Clemson 1-2. But then you win 2 in a row against Western Michigan and against Holy Cross, so that puts you at 3-2. Then you lose at NC State 3-3. So after the Pitt game, you're 3-4. You lost 2 games in a row, but you're close. You had your chances. Then you come out and you play at Florida State, and Florida State and Cam Akers absolutely dominates you. All across the board. This game was never even close. Final score 35-17. Syracuse tacked some on at the end of the game. This was never close. I fell asleep watching this game. I was tired. But I've never fallen asleep watching a Syracuse game because I was that mad and didn't care that much that we were getting blown out. It was that bad down in Tallahassee, and the scary thing is it looked like guys started to give up. And then you saw it again the week after at Boston College coming to the Dome. You saw it in this game. Syracuse loses at home 58-27 at the hands of the Eagles. Again, a game where it wasn't even close. At the end of the first quarter, Syracuse was winning 17-10, so closer than the Tallahassee situation against Florida State. But as the game progressed, Boston College dominated. They used the play action, exploited our defense. The defense is what cost them in both of these games. Just bad. Just bad. And you see the defense and the offense not really meshing. They're butting heads a lot of the time because the offense, is not taking advantage of the possessions they have, not having those opportunities. But then the defense gets out there and they're allowing stuff. But it's hard to blame the defense in some situations because they were just out there. They're tired. Offense goes out, 3 and out, boom, defense is back on the field again. And there comes a point in time in the game when your offense isn't scoring. It's late in the third, early on in the fourth. Well, if your offense hasn't showed all day, or really all season for that matter, that they can score, what are you playing for, I guess? And it's hard to support that, but it's understandable. And it's a situation where why would we think that this is going to get better when I've seen a regression throughout the season, and I think that things have gotten worse because there's zero excitement, there's zero hype. Guys are butting heads with each other, they're not agreeing on things, and on top of it, you have guys quitting, and we're going to dive into that right now. Ryan Alexander, a guy that they had come in from Southern Alabama, a transfer, to be a right tackle on this offensive line, decides, I'm done. He leaves campus. He leaves the team. And that really just says it all. That the team is waving the white flag and throwing in the towel here. And then on top of that, after this terrible Boston College showing, Dino Babers and staff fires Brian Ward, the defensive coordinator. Now, here's my thing on this. I think this is a way of Dino Babers covering his own butt a little bit. Saying, hey, I know this is bad. And this is my way of saying, it's not on me anymore. It keeps his hands clean to an extent. It's getting harder and harder to believe in Dino, and I know that we have to give him more time. I wrote on my sheet, Dino Babers' future. A lot of people calling for his head. I don't think that's the answer because you have to give a coach time. I think the magic number is about 6 years, and that seems like a lot, and that seems like a long, long time to wait. But we've had flashes. We had a 10-3 season. We did have the big upset wins against Clemson. We've showed that we can do it. The scary part is that this is year 4, and we've regressed. And at this moment in time right now, we're 3-6. And to be quite honest, I'd be surprised if we won another ball game this year. I really would. Left on the slate, we have a bye week this week. Then we're going and traveling at Duke, a decent football team in their own right. And as you can see, getting ready for that, I have my Duke shirt on. You guys can read that. I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but you guys can read that. And then after the Duke game, you're going at Louisville, a team that's much improved from last season, a team that almost kicked off this season with an upset win over Notre Dame, a team that's been in every single game. And then to close out the season, you're going to play host on senior night to Wake Forest. And oh, by the way, this isn't the same old Wake Forest team. This is a number 22 ranked team in the country, Wake Forest team, that really only has 1 or 2 losses and has dominated some solid football teams as this season went on. And not for nothing, but I called that one because I knew the Demon Deacons were going to come to play this year and they were going to be improved. So the season does not lighten up. If you were going to win your ACC game, it was going to be against NC State or Boston College, in my opinion. And they didn't do that. And they weren't even close against Boston College, and it was a home game. So I don't see how they're going to go down and win against against Duke. And the same thing against Louisville down in Kentucky. And then Wake Forest at the Dome, that's a nationally ranked team. And at that point, if you didn't win the 2 weeks prior, what makes you think the last game of the season, these guys are going to gear up and get ready to do it? Let's look deeper into what's really going on here. And I think it's going to come down to a couple different things. It's the play calling and it's the players. plain and simple, because those are the things that win and lose you football games. We're wasting too much good talent here. Andre Sisco's an All-American. We're wasting so much good talent on a bad season right here. And we have guys that right now are playing for their stats. On the ACC network the other day, some of the analysts literally called out Kendall Coleman and Alton Robinson and said, these guys are playing for their stats. They're going for the big sack on first and second down instead of playing in the system. Flat out called them out. Those guys wanted to go to the National Football League. Their season's crumbled already. It's hard to say whether I support that or not. Those have been two of my favorite players altogether, but we're biased. We're biased, and the defense hasn't worked. So it's hard to beg to differ with them. And then looking at more, these defensive players are going for the first down gash. They're going for that big play that is going to give them an opportunity because they know their offense is struggling to score. So they know they need to come up with turnovers. They need to come up with those big plays. That's what they're trying to do. And it's leading to getting themselves out of position, getting themselves into some bad situation, and it's leading to opposing teams exploiting that and putting the ball in the end zone, plain and simple. Season's in shambles right now. Quarterback one next year? Is it Tommy? Do we need to look at the transfer portal? I think we need to remember, though, that Eric Dungy wasn't a legend in his first season. Terrell Hunt wasn't a legend in his first season. He wasn't a legend at all. But none of our guys, Ryan Nassib, was not great in his first and second season. It takes time. But Ryan Nassib and Eric Dungy played in their freshman years. Tommy DeVito's a redshirt sophomore. Where's your excuse there? Because he has the in-game experience. He's been groomed in the system, and he's showing that, yes, the offensive line is a serious problem, but he's also making bad decisions. He's not aware of where he is on the field, something that shouldn't happen out of a redshirt sophomore. When he runs it out of bounds instead of throwing it away and loses 5 yards when he could have thrown it away. When he's taking those tough third down sacks instead of getting rid of the ball. When he's forcing things. When he's not throwing it far enough out of bounds and throwing interceptions. A bunch of different things here are playing into that, and it's costing us ball games. And I think it comes down to this college football is built around the idea of a scrambling dual threat quarterback right now, and Tommy DeVito's not that. Eric Dungy was, and look at the teams that are having a success. They have a guy that can do both. Look at Louisville with Lamar Jackson, a terrible program that was at a high national level due to the fact that they had an athletic quarterback. Look at the guys that have won the Heisman in the last 10 years. You're throwing in Johnny Manziel, can use his wheels. You're throwing in Kyler Murray, one of the fastest guys in college football. Baker Mayfield could run. Like, all these guys can run at the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson, we just talked about him. I'm not saying Tommy's not the answer. I'm just saying you got to look maybe for some more because he's not really panning out the way that we had expected him to, and it's sad. And looking at some more problems here, the play calling. The play calling has been very, very questionable. It'll be 3rd down and 9. You're down in Tallahassee. You're only down by 2 touchdowns. You're still in this ball game, 3rd down and 9. You have a decent drive going, and we do a draw up the middle. And we hand it off to a running back that has had, absolutely no run game going at all throughout the entire game, and we're going to decide we're going to run it. Now, if you catch them off guard a little bit and you run for a first down, you're a genius. But fact of the matter is, the only success you had was through the air, and it's 3rd down and 9. And you're still in the game. That's when you should throw the ball. They're showing that they're giving up when they're just giving the team that you're playing the ball back like that on a 3rd down. The play calling's iffy, and it's offensively and defensively. They're just calling the wrong plays at the wrong times, and it's easy for us to say from a distance that they're doing it wrong and whatever. We're not coaches, and we don't know what's really going on, what kind of personnel they have, who needs to just take a breath, all this different stuff, but it makes you wonder what's going on, and you're seeing coaches get fired, so clearly something's wrong with the play calling here. Something to look at as the season goes on. Season ticket sales are going to plummet next season. We've just regressed, and it's tough, and it's a tough reality to face, and it's putting in question how good of a recruiter is Dino, because this is the first year where this is all his guys. This is all his guys, and there's no focus on the important positions like offensive line, like linebacker, but I shouldn't say linebacker. We have some good linebacker coming in, obviously Michael Jones, guys like that. But offensive line, we have one target right now for next season. Makes you wonder what kind of hands this team is in. The fan base is giving up. I'm telling you right now, I love going up to the Dome for football games, but it's going to be hard to go to that Wake Forest game unless we have an opportunity to win the 6th game and go to the bowl game. It's just hard. I'm ready for basketball. A lot of other people are, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but the season has gone like this, and it seems like the team has gotten worse, and there's really no positive takeaways here. Yes, Tristan Jackson's a good wide receiver. That's about all I got. Sterling Hoffrichter's a good punter. That's about all I got. It stinks. Our expectations were here. We set them a little too high, and we're here. We're 3-6. We got 3 games left. But stay tuned and don't go anywhere, because coming up soon on Orange Heat, we're going to do a full season preview and prediction, just like we did for football, but we're doing it for the 2019-2020 Syracuse Orange basketball team, who's looking real good going into this season. Keep supporting the Orange. Go to the football games. Hope that they can pull off a miracle in these next 3 games, win out, get ourselves to a bowl game, and get ready for some great Syracuse basketball action. You guys are the best as always. Thank you so much. Hit up the Twitter and Instagram at GeoHeater if you feel so inclined, because I always put stuff up, some content in there as far as, questions to ask about the football team, everything like that. Get in there, guys. We appreciate you as always. Let's go Orange, baby. Whoa!
Thank you for listening to Orange Heat, done by pursuing sports broadcaster and high school student Giovanni Heater. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram at GeoHeater. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more Syracuse athletics and Orange Heat action. Let's go Orange!